back. This is Boomer Life on CL650.
Back on Boomer Life on CL650, George Gordon with the good people from Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center in Vancouver. Naturopathic physicians, Dr. Larry Chan and Dr. Alex Chan. We're talking about the role of naturopathic medicine in helping the body feel better, be better prepared to deal with sickness, and in many cases, dealing with those serious illnesses like cancer. But let's talk about just some of the everyday benefits of naturopathic medicine, of the integrative health approach to making the body better.
I think what we see is that starting from looking at meeting the patient where they're at. So when someone comes in, oftentimes they may have a serious concern, but if not, they have niggling illnesses and niggling concerns, whether that's the sore back that wakes you up every night, or whether it's difficulty sleeping, or women going through menopause and hot flashes. And it's trying to look at where their concerns lie, and then looking at how their body and organ systems are doing. And we look at it not necessarily from just a actual pathology disease perspective, but also from an overall functional perspective. So maybe they're suffering fatigue and they don't have anything diagnosable on blood work, but when you actually start talking about it, you realize that it's because there's a lot of stress in their life, and that's really keeping them up at night. And so starting with really simply looking at how we can decrease that stress load and get them sleeping better through the night will really improve so many other aspects of their body and their health, not just their sleep, but also their body's ability to recover from illness, their immune system's ability to fend off disease, and really working from that perspective forward, from looking at that organ system function.
I think coming from my background, which is naturopath, Chinese medicine doctor, and acupuncturist and chiropractor, we look at it as a triad of health. And when people come in, whether it's a small problem or big problem, they really look at it and say, is there a structural component? Is there something with the nervous system or your spinal column that's not right? Or is it something with your biochemistry and your nutrition status? That's your biochemical part. And stress and emotional status has a lot to do with it, because more and more evidence is showing how the mind and the neurotransmitters in the brain affect your biochemistry, how the digestive tract can affect your brain and your moods, and how the hormones affect everything else. So everything's intertwined. So we can't, as allopathic specialties do, they break the body into chunks, and they don't seem to meet sometimes. Well, we have to look at the whole body and say, where's the genesis of this issue that you're presenting to me? Is it a biochemical problem? Is it a mental emotion problem? Is it a combination of all those things?
Because we tend to see that if people have balance between those three areas, then you'll be healthy. But if any one of those areas starts to become out of balance, it pulls the other two with it.
And if you're feeling ucky, for lack
Good
of
word.
Technical term, ucky, your mental capacity, your mental state, and it's a bit like a
Cycle.
it just keep pushing yourself down unless you can, if you can get the body feeling better, mentally you feel better, and you're in a better frame of mind to think about these other
Absolutely.
things.
Classic, we get a patient come and say, you know, I went to my doctor. They go to a doctor and say, you know, doc, I don't feel very well. I'm listless. I wake up tired. I'm weak. My joints are a little bit sore. My head's a bit fuzzy.
I'm putting on weight.
And the doctor says, okay, let's take a blood test on you. And oh, George, you're fine. You know, you're absolutely healthy. Your blood looks perfect. Go away. 6 months later, you come back. You know, I'm feeling a little worse. My joints are hurting more now. I'm more inflamed, and it's really tough getting out of bed. My wife says I'm really a mean old bugger now. So, you know, we better take another look at those blood tests. You're fine again.
Yeah.
A year after you come back and say, you know, I can barely get out of bed. I'm not happy with life. They do the blood test. They find and think, yeah, here it is. This is the problem. Well, it's been there all along.
Right.
How do we detect it earlier, and how do we put that together is the key. And that's part of our puzzle in the Integrative Naturopathic Medicine Center. Part of our job is to diagnose that and try to find where it's coming from.
All right. Let's talk then about the Integrative Cancer Program. Cancer, we were talking earlier before the show started about Nixon back in the 60s declaring war on cancer. The numbers don't bode well for that war, and in many cases we still have some of the same problems. It's a taboo to talk about. It's a stigma. But the Integrative Cancer Program has taken perhaps an old approach and made it new again, or improved upon it. But let's talk about that.
Well, I think that one of the important things to realize, like you mentioned, right, it used to be that it was one in every 4 or 5 people would be diagnosed with cancer at some time in their lifetime. Now we're looking at one in every 3 is the trend. So that's one in every mom, dad, and baby. Someone in that family is going to be affected by cancer. And so for us, what we look at is kind of similar to that triad of health that we were talking about. Cancer care is more than just dealing with the person's active tumor or the actual cancer itself. And I think that that's something that patients really appreciate coming to us, is that sometimes in the meetings with the radiation oncologist and the medical oncologist and the surgeon, uh, they feel like the rest of their body gets forgotten. And for us, it's important to talk to them. Okay, well, you perhaps have been diagnosed with this particular type of cancer. This is the treatment that has been prescribed. But how does that make you feel? Like, how's that affecting you mental, emotionally? What are you actually eating right now? Do you have an appetite now that you're going through chemotherapy? And really addressing a lot of those other questions beyond just what their cancer itself is doing, but what their whole body is doing, makes it so that we can protect the rest of their body and help them through any sort of conventional treatment, and also preserve that body function long term.
Just a reminder that at any time, if you want to pick up a bit more information about what we're talking here, we can go to integrative.ca. Pretty simple. Integrative.ca. Lots of information about what happens at the Naturopathic Medical Center down on Broadway at Birch, and contact points for you to get involved if you want to follow up on what we're talking about here. There is the website to go to. When we talk about cancer and I think social media has done a great job in allowing people to tell their personal stories, and one of the things that we do hear a lot about is the effect of radiation and the chemo on the body, and a better understanding that that's not the disease necessarily that is making you feel bad, but it is the treatment. And I think somebody was praising the fact that that in some of the chemotherapy now they can introduce a medicine or whatever to keep the stomach from feeling so sick. But still, you're feeling like somebody dragged you through a knothole backwards, and the naturopathic way can help people learn how to build up the fight system.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways of doing that. If a person presents and they're being actively treated for cancer, the first thing we do is, as Alex was saying, is that we really want to inform and empower the patient. We don't want to take away their power. We don't want to disrupt the relationship they have with their oncologist. It's very important they have a good one with their oncologist. But we can help by filling in the gaps as well. But we can also adjunctively support them. So if they're feeling sick from chemotherapy, we need to help them, even help digestively. How can we help their nutritional status, give them good quality foods to eat? And secondly, we can give them IV therapies that really boost their body's health. The difference could be between being able to continue chemotherapy or have to discontinue. So if we can get their body cell counts healthy, they can continue getting the right treatments from their oncologist as well.
I had a young boy who I was working with who he came to me, his parents came to me, he was 3 years old and he was going through some chemotherapy treatments, and his blood cell counts had dropped so low. Oftentimes you hear about cancer patients, they're monitoring the white blood cells and red blood cells, because if they drop below a certain level, they can't actually proceed with the chemotherapy regime. And in between his first and second round of chemo, his counts had gone almost to that borderline where they actually were thinking they might have to stop or postpone the treatment regime, which obviously wouldn't serve to address his cancer. And so what we focused on was nothing to do with active cancer treatment for him. What we did was I gave him actually a pretty simple traditional combination of different herbs that are all about blood building and nutrition and increasing immune cell counts. And by the time he went through his second round of chemo, they did his blood test between second and third round. His blood counts were actually much higher than they were expecting. So something like that was so supportive to being able to actually see through the treatment regime that conventionally he wanted to go through. And so, George, we'll see everything from people who come to us and all they're looking for is kind of support through their conventional routine, all the way down to people who either don't want to do what's been recommended to them conventionally or have reached the end of the line in terms of therapies available to them and are asking to go only with naturopathic options. So anywhere along that spectrum, we're happy to join people on their healthcare team, working with their oncologist as they need, or if they don't have an oncologist, helping to bridge a relationship with someone who will be happy to work as part of an integrative team.
And we do have patients that come in and say, hey, I don't want to do anything allopathic. And if we think that they really do, we will encourage them to go forward that way. But some people make that choice and they really don't want to. And so those people we work with as well. And we have many treatments for them as well.
Well, let's talk maybe about some of the particulars of the treatment. You have nutritional supplements, special lab testing. Would you like to talk a little bit about those?
Well, nutritional supplements, it's varied. They're food supplements. Some of them are, it can be hormone therapies. Some of them can be antioxidant therapies. Some of them can be delivered in IV therapy forms. So we have many different kinds of IVs that can support the liver, help detoxify the body, can help raise the blood back in the body as well. So we're really looking at always it's kind of three simple things: support the body in the immune system, detoxify the body, and also to build the body back up on the other side. And that can be done by oral supplements, it can be done by IVs, or lifestyle changes, or exercise and meditation, qigong, those kind of practices.
We see so many people coming to us now, especially with the era of the internet, and they'll come with a bag of supplements in tow, being like, I read about all of these different things that should help me with my cancer. And sometimes our role is really helping them weed through what actually is legitimately going to help them, and whether they need to take these other pills or what sort of dosing they need to do, and then also clarifying what they can and can't do while they're going through other conventional treatments. So playing that role in terms of nutritional supplements is oftentimes where we start, but then also talking to them about nutrition itself.
I was going to say, you know what, a lot of people, and I would be just the first one to put their hand up and say, I need some help with what I'm putting in my food and in my stomach.
And I think that that's one of the things that people oftentimes say they don't get that much support from the oncology side. So we have a really complete nutritional program. We've got a holistic nutritionist in-house that we refer to and work with all the time, and will really help to build a program based upon their cancer type. There's certain types of cancers that respond better and worse to different types of diets, and then also helping to mediate that with what the person's capability is. Because I've seen people that say, give me the super ninja diet, and it's like everything and anything they can do diet-wise, and then other people who go, you know, like, I want to do something that will help and diminish the effects from chemo, support my appetite, but I still get so much pleasure from Sunday dinner with the family. So I need to be able to have that as my cheat day.
And it is an individualized process, because there's no such thing as just a pure cancer diet or anything. And it's also what the patient can handle.
Yeah.
You know, some patients, you can give them the most Spartan diet. It's the best for this kind of treatment, but they won't adhere to it because it's too difficult. So you have to modify that. And that's the beauty of having one-on-one work. Our nutritional staff is fantastic for that as well.
The one thing that I would say diet-wise across the board, and I think we'll get to talk about it a little bit more later, George, is that generally most cancer types, we want them on a pretty sugar-free or sugar-light diet.
Very important. Well, let's get into our next segment coming up on Boomer Life. We're talking with the folks from Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center in Vancouver. The naturopathic treatment for people who really want to feel better, and in some cases are needing serious help in their fight against a serious disease like cancer. We'll be right back. Again, if you need more information, want to go online, you can go to
Integrative.ca.
I love that. All right, this is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.